Did you know a man chose to save the country that had just tortured him? Admiral Yi Sun-sin was Korea's greatest naval commander. He had already pushed back a Japanese invasion once, protecting his people at enormous cost. Then his own government turned on him. Political enemies fed the king false reports. Yi was arrested, stripped of his rank, and tortured in prison. He was spared execution only because a few officials spoke up. Then Japan returned. Over 300 warships. The Korean Navy had been nearly wiped out while Yi was locked away. The king had no one else to call. Yi was reinstated. He was given 13 ships, 13 against 333. At the Battle of Myeongyang in 1597, Yi used the narrow straits reversing currents to funnel the Japanese fleet into chaos. He didn't retreat once. His sailors didn't lose a single vessel. He could have let Korea burn. Nobody would have blamed him. Instead, he picked up his sword for the people who broke him. That's the kind of man history rarely produces. Did you know a man lost his kingdom at 12 years old, ate grass to survive in the mountains, and then went on to found one of the greatest empires in history? His name was Babur. At 12, he inherited the kingdom of Fergana in Central Asia. Within months, rivals took it from him. He spent the next 2 decades losing cities, losing armies, losing everything. He was chased through deserts and mountain passes. There were winters where his men had almost nothing to eat, and through all of it, he wrote, Babur kept detailed personal memoirs describing every defeat, every humiliation, every moment of doubt. Honest in a way almost no ruler ever was. But he kept moving south. In 1526, at the First Battle of Panipat, he brought something the Indian subcontinent had never faced before: gunpowder artillery. His smaller army destroyed a force many times its size. He founded the Mughal Empire that day, the same dynasty that would eventually build the Taj Mahal, from eating grass in the mountains to changing a continent forever. Did you know that enslaved people once forced Napoleon to sell half a continent? In the 1790s, Saint-Domingue was France's most valuable colony. It produced more sugar and coffee than almost anywhere on Earth, and its entire economy ran on the backs of 500,000 enslaved people. Then those people rose up. Led by figures like Toussaint Louverture, the enslaved population fought back against one of the most powerful empires in the world. Napoleon sent his best general and 40,000 soldiers to crush the revolt. Yellow fever and fierce resistance destroyed that army almost completely. Napoleon was humiliated. His dream of a French empire in the Americas was finished. So in 1803, he did something no one expected. He sold the entire Louisiana territory to the United States for $15 million. Overnight, the young nation doubled in size. The Haitian Revolution didn't just free a people, it redrew the map of North America and shaped the future of the entire Western Hemisphere. People the law called property changed the world forever. Did you know Vikings were carrying swords that shouldn't have existed for another 8 centuries? Buried across Scandinavia, archaeologists kept finding the same thing: blades stamped with the letters plus VLFBERHT+. They looked remarkable. But when metallurgists actually tested the steel, they were stunned. The metal was nearly free of impurities. It was harder, more flexible, and far superior to anything European forges of that era could produce. That level of steel quality wouldn't be matched again until the Industrial Revolution. So how did 9th century Norse warriors get it? The answer points to Persia. Craftsmen there used crucible furnaces capable of producing ultra-pure steel. And the Vikings were trading directly with the Islamic world through river routes cutting deep into Eastern Europe, exchanging furs and silver all the way to Baghdad. The Wilfbert sword wasn't just a weapon. It was proof of a global supply chain most historians hadn't imagined existed. The raiders we learned about in school were also merchants, diplomats, and participants in one of the most sophisticated trade networks of the medieval world. Did you know a man the church declared spiritually dead won back Jerusalem without fighting a single battle? Frederick II was already excommunicated when he boarded his ships in 1228. The Pope had kicked him out of the church twice. No Christian king was supposed to follow him. Most didn't. But Frederick sailed to the Holy Land anyway. Instead of drawing his sword, he sat down with Sultan al-Kamil of Egypt and started talking. They shared a love of science, philosophy, and falconry. They actually liked each other. 10 days of negotiation later, Frederick walked out with Jerusalem, Bethlehem, and Nazareth handed peacefully back to Christendom. A 10-year truce sealed the deal. No armies, no bloodshed, no miracle. Just 2 intelligent men choosing conversation over carnage. The reaction back home was fury. The Pope called it a disgrace. Christian knights in Jerusalem rang the church bells in mourning. The Patriarch refused to celebrate. Frederick had done what 6 previous crusades could not. and the world punished him for it. Did you know the entire continent of Europe was almost conquered by the Mongols, and a drinking habit is what saved it? By 1241, the Mongol army had torn through Poland and Hungary like paper. Their generals were some of the most brilliant military minds in history. No European force could stop them. The road west was wide open, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. Then everything stopped. Word arrived from Mongolia. The great Khan Ojeda had died, and under Mongol law, every senior commander had to return home to vote on who would rule next. No exceptions. Not even a continent waiting to be conquered. So they packed up and left. Europe never saw them again. Here is the part that is hard to shake. Ojeda died because he drank himself to death. His advisors had tried to limit him to a set number of cups per day. He just started using bigger cups. The survival of medieval Europe came down to that. Not a battle, not a hero, a bigger cup. Did you know a woman with no army and no official title saved an empire with just a few sentences? It was 532 AD. Constantinople was on fire. 2 chariot racing gangs had united into a single raging mob, burning buildings and killing thousands. They were about to crown a new emperor. Justinian was ready to run. Ships were waiting at the harbor. His advisors were already moving toward the door. Then Theodora spoke. She had been an actress before she became empress. She held no military rank. But she stood in that throne room and said she would rather die in royal purple than flee and survive as a coward. She said the grave made a finer tomb than exile. The room went silent. Justinian stayed. He sent his general Belisarius into the streets with a small force. 30,000 rioters were killed in the Hippodrome. The rebellion collapsed in a single afternoon. The Byzantine Empire went on to survive for another 9 centuries. One speech, one woman, that was the difference. Did you know the man who built one of history's greatest empires was ultimately killed by his own fear of death? Qin Shi Huangdi unified China in 221 BC. He ended centuries of war, built a massive wall to guard his borders, and forced every province to use the same coins, the same writing, the same road widths. The man was obsessed with control. But underneath all that power lived a terrifying fear. He was convinced he would die young, so he turned to his court alchemists. They promised him immortality, and they handed him pills made of mercury. He swallowed them eagerly. Every single day, his behavior grew erratic. His moods turned violent. His body began to fail him. In 210 BC, at just 49 years old, Qin Shi Huangdi died on a royal tour far from his capital. Most historians believe the mercury poisoned him. The man who conquered an entire civilization, who feared nothing and no one, was undone by the one thing he refused to accept, that he was only human.